There you go, heavy metal music, and there's the man, Farhan Lalji, joining us here today. I want to start with this, and then we'll get into CFL and whatever else. Applaud you for your Farhan cast. I texted you. I loved it because one of the things that I could never figure out is people pushing that you have to cheer for the Blue Jays because you're Canadian, it's Canada's team. And I'm like, I could give a rip. I got buddies. I'm actually kind of a Red Sox fan. I got buddies that are Red Sox, Yankees, Seattle, Chicago, huge Chicago Cubs fan in the hallway there. Good on you for posting that because I think it's as true as it gets.
Yeah, I've certainly felt it for a while. And then, you get people that can't look past their Toronto-dumb. Where it's like, well, wait a minute, you're not cheering for the Mariners, you're just cheering for the Blue Jays, or cheering against the Blue Jays. Well, it's not quite true because, I've lived in this area for a long time, and my affinity for the Mariners goes back a long way. Now, the reality is I'm not a big baseball guy, right? So the best part about not being a big baseball guy in this particular situation is you can't hurt me. Because if all of a sudden the Blue Jays come back and win this series, I'm good, right? Like, I'll just move on to the next phase of my life. I'm not going to do a lot of hand-wringing or lamenting, but I go back with the Mariners a long way. And I said on that clip that baseball is a sport that you follow. It's not necessarily a sport that you watch. So I've probably had, 2 innings of a Mariner game on 40 to 50 times this season. But I can tell you this, 162 nights this year, I have checked the box scores, I've checked the app, see how they did, see where they are in the standings, see who did what. So I do follow it, even though I don't necessarily watch it with a tremendous amount of passion. Even last night, right? Like, my daughter had a physio appointment. Guess what I did? I went to take her to physio. I listened to the game on the radio, and when it got out of hand 6 innings in, I turned it off. Tonight, I'm going to coach my middle school football team. I'll watch the first hour of the game, and then I'll watch the rest of the, so it's just one of those things where I take it the way I want it.
I think it's because it's exactly me. That is exactly me right there. It's like, kudos.
Yeah. I could watch the Yankees play the Dodgers too and be just as invested. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But is Vancouver more invested in Seattle? Is there that kind of essence out there?
Well, look, there's a lot of Seahawk fans here, right? They've got almost 3,500 season ticket holders from the Lower Mainland. So there certainly is an affinity for Seattle. Now, I'd be lying if I said there are more Mariner fans in BC than there are Blue Jay fans. I wish there were. And certainly in the 90s, even when Sportsnet was showing Blue Jay games, there were more Mariner fans here at the time. And then that 95 team really did capture some people here right up until 2001. But then after that, both teams were really bad. And then the marketing that Rogers and the Jays did has certainly taken hold. So I would imagine it's probably 75% Blue Jay fans. The Blue Jay fans will tell you it's like 99-1, and it's not. But when you look at, but that's just so much arrogance there, right? But when you look at the Seahawks, it shows you that regionalism matters. And if you're same reason why the Bills matter in Toronto, right? And in Winnipeg, the Vikings matter. So all that stuff is important too.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit here. I want to go to the Canucks. Adam Foote, there's still a honeymoon phase, I would say, with his coaching there and what he's doing, or is that already wearing thin?
Well, look, I don't think people are going to get on Adam Foote at this point because I think people realize what this roster is all about. And, I think there's a window for this team to get into the playoffs, but generally that window relies on the back of Thatcher Demko and him being healthy and playing out of his mind. And, maybe they can chip in enough offense to get it done. So right now, if the team struggles, and look, they're only 1-2, it's just 3 games in, but at the same time, they've played 1 good period out of 9. And that 1 good period was the 3rd period against a team playing the second night of back-to-backs. So, there's context around that. So immediately people are going to look at Pettersson and the lineup before they all of a sudden potentially turn on Adam Foote. So I think Foote's probably got some honeymoon for this season, just because everyone understands there's other flaws here.
If Pettersson stays and doesn't progress, and by that doesn't take on the leadership role everybody thinks he should as the number 1 forward, do you see him being on the market? Do you see that Vancouver would make a move to move him on?
Who'd want him?
Well, right? Exactly. They're going to have to eat salary.
Like when you say if he stays, I'm not sure what that means. They're contractually tied to him for the next 8 seasons, and he makes 1.6. So that's the challenge, is that if this continues what we've seen the first 3 games, look, it is only 3 games, but that 3 games comes on the heels of a year and a half of just not good enough play for a player of his stature. So I just don't know that there's a market for the player. Like they're going to put themselves in a situation if they decide, at the end of a 60-point season to move on, they're going to have to retain a ton of salary and give a ton of assets just to get off the contract. So they've got to find a way to make this work, and hopefully there's a way to make it happen.
Okay, let's go to a little bit of CFL here, but I'm kind of bringing baseball back into this. How much is this Blue Jay thing hurting the CFL when it comes to TV and ratings?
Oh, huge. And thankfully Friday night's game, now that there is a Friday night's game, is a 3:00 local game. The Lions don't play until 7, and that's the biggest game of the weekend because there's something at stake for both teams. So yeah, look, when the Blue Jays are playing well and CFL games go head-to-head with the Blue Jays, it makes a difference to the ratings in the Eastern time zone. There's no doubt about it. And now, this isn't just a game in August, right? This is the American League Championship Series. So there's going to be huge numbers of fans watching the game, huge numbers of fans watching the post-game show. So anybody who tells you it doesn't have a negative impact on the CFL isn't paying attention. The whole rising tide lifts all boats when it comes to this, fantasy. So the sooner the Jays are done, the better off the CFL is.
So the game Friday night, Edmonton, BC, like this is the game of the week, no doubt about it. Yeah. Edmonton's on a roll. BC wants to make sure they solidify the home field advantage. Tell me the storyline you see as playing out in this game.
Yeah, Nathan Rourke has owned the Elks in his 5 games against them going back to the 2021 season. Like, he kind of burst onto the scene. People remember the season opener when Mike Riley wasn't ready and Nathan had to play, but really it was the final game of that year. The Lions were out of it. They shut Mike Riley down and let Nathan play, and he went crazy. And then in those 5 games, the Lions are 5-0. His passer rating is 132, and they've scored 42.5 points per game. Now, this season was, not quite as dominant, but still dominant, the first 2 games. But that was before that Week 7 Edmonton bye. And the Elks have been so much better since then. They gave up 30-plus points. They gave up over 30 points in every game prior to that. They've only given up 30-plus one time now. So Nathan's playing well. BC's offense is playing well, 30-plus in 10 of their last 12. Can they do it against a much-improved Edmonton defense? Because Edmonton still believes they've got a chance here. Mark Killam has them dialed in. There's only 2 games left. You might as well play like you got a shot to get in. So there's a lot of stakes for both teams. And then I think the one other story that'll matter for BC is they get both offensive tackles back with Allen and Broxton. And I think both those guys are lights out good, and that's going to make things even better for Nathan Rourke. So I do think they can get to 30, but Edmonton's not going to make it easy.
Have you heard why, just because you're so in tune and you talk to a lot of people, why it's taken so long to announce the CFL, the halftime show for Super Bowl or Grey Cup?
Good question. It's funny because halftimes have never really been my thing till they get announced. But, I know in the Super Bowl, these things get announced really, really late, right? And, between music rights, contracts, how much of it airs on television, and so on. I know they're pretty close to announcing it, but I kind of felt that a few weeks ago as well from what I'd been told then. So I don't know. But, truthfully, Barney, does it matter, right? The game's going to be sold out, right? So I don't know that the halftime act necessarily I get the credibility part of it, I suppose, but I don't know.
I think the TV side is where it's kind of the big deal for the TV side. And I've been to only 2 or 3 Grey Cups. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's more when you're sitting at home. It's like, okay, let's watch Green Day or the Jonas Brothers. Big Jonas Brothers guy, so of course I was watching that. What are you surprised that Trevor Harris is even going to put on shoulder pads?
Well, cap-wise, a lot of times at this stage of the year, it doesn't make sense to all of a sudden put him on injured and then elevate a guy that you've now got to pay full salary to. So, I don't know that they're going to get past 2 quarterbacks here. So it's not a surprise, and the number of guys that are out. And Saskatchewan's in a good position because the players they're playing aren't chumps, right? They're guys that have played in CFL games this year. They're so deep at receiver that all of a sudden Sean Bain gets to play receiver and Joe Robustelli gets back in the lineup because Myers and Johnson don't play, so they've got a luxury of outstanding receivers and Canadian receivers and even the secondary guys that are going to play. Tavon Campbell gets back in this week. So, these aren't a bunch of practice roster guys that are just getting a chance to play. They can still enter that game with that roster, still believing they can win. And so I think we'll see more regulars the following week against BC because they know they're going to have another week off the following week, right? Like, I don't think all those same guys will get another week off next week knowing you've got the bye in the first round.
Okay, let's end with a little NFL. I like to ask.
All right.
My Patriots, right? Like, let's go. They're back. They're back.
Oh, my God. It's like Jason from the dead. You just can't kill them forever.
I know.
Friday
So
the
true.
13th, here we go. You know what? We feel better about the Patriots now that Belichick's gone, right? Because Mike Vrabel can be a little more engaging. And look, Drake May, I wasn't a believer, right? I'm quick to point out the guys that was a big believer in going into the draft process. I wasn't a huge believer in Drake May, but he's proven me wrong so far, right? And the fact that he's proving me wrong at this stage, not in year one, matters. Because the guys that hit it out of the park year one tend to have a little bit of regression for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
I'm still a big Jaden Daniels guy, but there's a little bit of regression this season. The fact that May is just able to elevate, and look, they don't have a lot of weapons around him, right? When you look at that receiving core, like there's not much there. So the fact that he's able to put up the numbers he's doing and play the way he is, people in New England should be pretty excited because the pain that the rest of the country wants them to endure after all that success isn't going to go for a long time.
I agree with the pain we want them to endure. I agree.
We do.
Yeah.
We're back, baby. Like Frank Costanza style.
Oh, have I got to listen to this every day? Oh,
I know
man.
I know you're driving and you're a busy guy, Farhan. Until next week, thanks so much.
All right, guys, have a great weekend.
You too.